All right, so this is how to use a sprayer. So first thing you want to do is you want to plug it in an extension cord to an exterior outlet, and then obviously you just plug it in. So it's plugged in now. This is entirely electric. So if you want to come a little bit closer, so this is the on and off switch. So if you turn it on, it'll be very loud real quick because it is turning on the intake tube. So the intake tube is this large tube here, okay? So large tube here is where it intakes all of the paint or stain you're gonna be using. This is the priming tube. So these both have a purpose, and I'm gonna show that to you right now. So first thing you wanna do, other than plugging it in, I suppose, is to put the intake tube into the stain. So use your 5-in-1 here, which really quickly, the uses of 5-in-1, scraping, opening the paint can, just kind of cutting things here on this, and then closing the paint can. Those are the uses of it. Let's use the opening bit to open it up. And we're gonna be staining a fence today. All right, beautiful color there. So we want to take the intake tube and we want to put it right into the stain. So keep it close to the sprayer, dump it in. First thing we're gonna do, let's grab a bucket here just so we can make sure. So we're gonna want to prime the pump here. So to prime the pump, we are gonna need to use the priming tube. All right, so to prime this, what we want to do is we want to take this priming pump, put it over here, and then we flip this switch up on this side. That's how you prime it. Turn it on, and then what should happen is the stain should run through the intake tube, through the pump, and then it should come out of the priming tube. So I'm going to turn this on real quick just to show you. So you can see that it's coming out. All right, so the priming tube has a couple of uses here. So the first main use is to prime the pump, and that's what we just did. The secondary use, which is actually gonna be more common, is that you're gonna use that to get stain from a tube here, or from a main paint bucket into just like a bucket used for brushing. So the great thing here is that the stain comes out of here at the same consistency it comes out of there, and you can use it to put it into any bucket you want. So just as I did here, this bucket's now full of stain. All right, when you're gonna start staining then, what you need to do is you need to turn this part off. Turn that off, and now the stain's gonna come out of the main gun. So let's turn this on real quick. All of this intake is gonna come in, and then all of this is gonna start going through the main hose rather than the pump hose. So let's turn it on. And so it's really quick to pressurize there. Now, the issue here is that this main hose is full of water because I just cleaned it. So Jared, come on over real quick here. So this is a tip that is used for pressure. Now this part is the intake side and this part is the spraying side, okay? So you wanna go here and you wanna put it in right here. Now they can be kind of tough to put in at times. There we go. So you can see it's nice and centered. It can be a little hard to use. Now this side is the side for spraying, and this side is the side that just shoots out a straight jet. Now I'm gonna do this until I start seeing stain. I'm gonna do it into the grass here, okay? So, yep. All right. So I took this tip out, and I'm gonna take this tip out to shoot all the water through. It's gonna come out first, it's gonna be like a watery, stainy mix, and then it will be straight stain, okay? So I'm gonna do this until all of that starts to come out of this long tube. Then I'm gonna put this back in, and then we're gonna start spraying the fence. All right, we're starting to see stain here. So I'm gonna put this back in and then we're gonna start staining the fence. So if we take a look at this bucket here, we can see that already there's about a 1/4 gallon that's come out of it. Thing is, where did all that stain go? So first place it went is in that bucket, just a little bit of it. Some of it went in the grass there, but that's very little. The majority of it is inside this hose right now. Now that's incredibly important because if you start running out of stain and you need about a 1/4 gallon left for a project, the big thing to keep in mind is that you already have it. It's in this hose. You're gonna have to put this intake tube into something, probably water, to get that remainder out. And you're gonna do that during cleaning process anyways. So that's the big thing here. All right, let's start staining this fence. All right, so I've got everything completely set up on this spray gun here. Now there's 2 things to keep in mind. First thing, you gotta make sure that this is completely sealed up and nice. You'll know if it isn't because stain will start coming everywhere. Second thing is the direction of how you're going. So if you have this tip this direction, you're gonna wanna spray this way, okay? Now let's take it and let's put it this direction because it's a fence, we wanna go up and down. So let's take a look. All right, so you can see I sprayed that section. Now this tip here is not letting out very much stain. That's just for training purposes as we want to make sure we can go nice and slow on the project today. Now this is a 311 tip. Some tips will let out a lot more stain and they're meant for more viscous materials, such as this solid stain we're using today. Now this tip is going to work great. This 311 tip is going to work fantastic for a semi-transparent or transparent stain, as those are less thick, less viscous, and we can let out quite a bit more stain just because it's quite a bit thinner. So you can see this section was done pretty quickly, even though it's meant to be done quite a bit slower with this tip. Now, in that same amount of time, with a more appropriate tip, you could get a lot of this section done. All right, so I'm gonna do the rest of this section here off video, and then we're gonna start doing the cleanup portion of this. All right, okay, so now we're gonna start the cleanup. So everything here is full of stain. So I've got a gallon of fresh water here, okay? Now I'm gonna take this intake tube, try to get as much of the stain that's on it just coming off for 2 main reasons. First one is to conserve stain. I think that's fairly obvious. Second one though is we want this water to stay as clean as possible. If we put it full, an intake tube that has a lot of stain sitting on it, it's gonna get pretty murky. That's about as good as we need it to be. Put it in there, you can see it's starting to get a little bit murky, but that's okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna prime this stain out of these 2 tubes and then just let it be water. So it's gonna come out originally full stain, then it's gonna be water. All right, that's pretty watery. We're gonna let this run until it's clear water or pretty close. That's pretty good. All right, so now what we need to clean out is the main hose. And the main hose is gonna have a lot of stain in it, as I mentioned before. I'm gonna put that into that bucket, okay? Now that bucket right now is not quite full stain. There's a little bit of water in it. You're gonna use that for touch-ups, for things like that. With stain, that's completely fine. With paint, you're gonna wanna discard that. Now, this is gonna be full stain. It's also gonna be full pressure. Now to relieve that pressure a little bit, because I don't want to shoot full pressure into that bucket there, I'm gonna prime it just a little bit to relieve that pressure. All right. Now I'm letting that stain out. I'm gonna shoot it against the side of this bucket here. Once it starts to become a lot looser, a lot more watery, I'm gonna put it into the grass. It's straight water at this point. Now, one thing you can't forget is you wanna put this tip back in and just shoot a little bit of that water through it so that you clean out the tip itself. If you don't do that, you're gonna waste a $30, $40, $50 tip because now it's just full of stain. All right, as you can see, everything is clean. Tip is clean, gun is clean, hose is clean, priming pump is clean. Now, because we still have so much water left in that bucket here, what I am gonna do is I'm gonna let this priming tube go out just a little bit more because it's not quite perfectly water clean. All right, it's perfectly water clean. So as you can see, all you need is a 1 gallon thing of water. Now, if you have a much longer hose, which some of you may have, you're gonna probably want a 5 gallon tub and fill it halfway with water. Put that intake tube in there, clean out the priming pump first, get that water clean, conserve the stain that's already in there, and then you're gonna wanna do the exact same thing with the main gun. Clean that out entirely with the tip out, put the tip back in, and clean it out all the way. And now you've learned how to set up, use, and take down a Graco sprayer. Thanks, guys. All right, so quick addendum here at the end of the video, just for some additional things you may need to know. So first thing is this is the pressure knob. So this is not particularly relevant in most circumstances, but you can raise and lower the pressure. So right now I have it at max pressure, which is really what you're gonna want. Now, what you can do is you can take it and you can raise it and lower it. You can see it goes up and it goes down, okay? Let's raise it really high and you'll see really quick what really high pressure looks like. Let me show you. Here's really high pressure. Now let's compare that to quite low pressure. All right, here's low pressure. You can see how that low pressure is barely letting any stain out. It's good in some circumstances, but for a fence like this, where we're dealing with just dirt and grass out here, it doesn't matter if we get a little bit of overspray. So let's throw it back up to more pressure, and then we can use that for the rest of this fence. Now, don't be too hard on me. These first coats don't need to be too solid because this is a 2-coat fence. But as you can see, this section right here, we use a variety of different pressures, and that pressure knob is how you're going to achieve that. Now, some other things that you're gonna wanna know for this sprayer. Let's take a look at the gun really quickly. Now, this tip here, we're gonna take that, and then, is this in focus? Can you see it?
Yep.
All right, cool. Turn it around entirely. That's just an empty hole. You're gonna use that if you wanted to shoot a straight jet of stain. We're gonna do that quickly on the fence, and then we're gonna roll it in after the clip. So, you can see that it's a fan before. Now it's gonna be like this. So you can see if you need to get a certain area, do that. Now, don't let it drip. We're gonna roll it in afterwards. Other things to know as well. This is one version, this is the version at Menards, there's a variety of them, of a spray shield. A spray shield is not a flawless system, but it's pretty nice if you need to spray around a house or something like that, where you don't want to get the colors somewhere else. So I'm gonna put this spray shield up. Now I'm sure you guys can all see where this is going, and I'm going to spray down here and get nothing on the post. So you can see it's not perfect. Got a little bit down there because I got a little bit sloppy, But the rest, this post has not been done. You can see there's a pretty clean line right there as well. This spray shield is nice if you're working around areas where you do not want stain to be. However, the most flawless way to do it is to just roll or paint with a paintbrush in those areas, rather than having to deal with using a sprayer somewhere where you don't want stain to be. The big thing with a sprayer is that you might get stain somewhere where you really don't want it, and you have no idea until it's already been done. So use this where you know for a fact you can get some overspray and it won't matter, such as the middle of a yard on this fence. Otherwise, just use a roller. Thanks, guys. All right, guys. So quick thing on the parts that come in a standard. If you go get a tip at the store, you're gonna get the tip, which is what you're looking for. Then you're gonna get this little thing. So what is this little thing? So let's take a quick look at it, just so you can see what the components are. So you have a metal concave piece here, and then you have this rubber bit that's used for sealing everything up so stain doesn't go spraying everywhere. So let's deconstruct the stain gun. Now, if you don't know why you're watching this portion, skip, because it's a waste of your time. But if you are having issues with the gun spraying stain, this is particularly useful. So let's deconstruct this little tip part here. So I'm gonna take this off. Now you'll notice right here, it's not coming out super nice because it is actually in there pretty well. So what I'm gonna do, actually, I'm gonna do this. Okay, so I'm gonna take this bit and I am going to take that out so you can see this is the old portion right here. It's got a little bit of grass on it. This is the old portion. There's nothing wrong with it. It works fine. Now you can see this hole is significantly larger. So I'm gonna put the new one, which looks like this, and I'm just gonna put it right in there. Okay, press it down. Once you know you have the right angle, and then press it down, and you can see you got the new one in there. And then you should be able to get your tip to slide in really nice and smooth. There you go, and then you are all set up. All right. If you are not getting a correct flow through the spray tip, either it's splitting two ways, it's really uneven, or for some reason it's completely clogged, here's how you fix it. Flip the tip around, spray through it real quick, flip it back. That is going to correct all of the issues you have with this tip either being incorrect or not flowing at all.